Slam. Turn it up, turn it up. It's the Pancake and Power Slam. Turn it up, turn it up. It's the Pancake and Power Slam Show. Turn it up, turn it up. It's the Pancake and Power Slam. Turn it up, turn it up. It's the Pancake and Power Slam. Turn it up, turn it up. It's the Pancake and Power Slam Show. Turn it up.
What's up, y'all? What's up, y'all? How's it going? How's it going? How's it going? How's it going? We are at 656 episodes of the Pancakes and Powerslams Show. I am Dr. Chris Featherstone, as always. Here, we're going to have a great time. We're going to go specifically, and I'm going to open up this lawsuit. I was received the entire lawsuit of the entire 82-page filing of the Mel Phillips, Vince McMahon, Linda McMahon, John Doe's 1 to 5 Ring Boys scandal, and we will be looking at it, and I will be presenting it in full. So, in the meantime, be sure to share the link. Let's go. Be sure to share a link. It is share time. What's up, Humble? Good evening. Good evening. Let's go. Let's go. It's share time. Yeah. Everybody in the room, be sure to share the link, because you know it's share time. Share the link. You know what time it is. Share the link. Let's go. Everybody in the building right now, be sure to share the link right now. It's share time. Yo, it's share time. Share the link. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah. Hey. Everybody in the building right now, be sure to share the link at the beginning of the show. Every single time on PMP, we share the link. We spread the love. We spread the word about the Pancakes and Powerslams Show. We're going to have a good time just like we do every single week. And this week, we are going to talk about some really crazy stuff, some shocking details that's involved in the Mel Phillips Ring Boy scandal. Whoa, that's crazy. So let's fill this room up. So that requires you to share the link. Let's go. Yeah. 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 Share the link. Let's go. Yeah. Share the link, y'all. Share the link. Share the link, y'all. Share the link. Oh, stay. Let's go. All right, y'all. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, so I'm gonna bring it up. We're gonna go right into it. I've read probably a quarter of it so far, so we're gonna go through. I'm gonna skip a lot of it. I'm gonna probably go through a little bit of it here. I was in the building, and then I'm going to go through the rest of it on with my patrons on the Patreon page. I got the entire thing. I got it right here. Got back from Vegas. Michael Passerellano got back from Vegas. A loss. There we go. There is the suit. Where's the suit? Let's get into it, man. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the suit without further ado. All right, so we got let's see. Let's go through it. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Let me let's see here. Let me do this. Let me do that. Trying to figure out what I'm feeling. As far as layout's concerned. There we go. That's good. Or let's do. Yeah, let me move over here. All right. We could do this too. Yeah, I like that. Let's do that. Let's do that. All right. Here we go. All right. Let's zoom this joker. All right. Here we go. Here we go. Here's the deal. That's the intro. Boom. Boom. All right, here we go. Defendants knowingly gave Phillips free rein to use his highly public WWE personality and image to entice local kids from the area near the WWE shows to help out and take down the wrestling ring. All right, so that's what the defendants did. And we'll talk about your questions here in a minute. And so this is the entire 82 page. We'll go through a little bit of it now, and then we'll go further into it on the Patreon page, patreon.com/Pancakes and Powerslams. Phillips targeted young boys right here from broken homes and even routinely traveled with them in plain sight, staying together in the hotel rooms and driving in his car to WWE events across the Northeast corridor. So defendants not only allowed Phillips to exploit his position at the WWE to groom and abuse ring boys, even in plain sight of wrestlers and executives in the locker room arena. That's what they're saying. And this is just more of the backdrop, I'm not gonna go through all the line items. It's just a backdrop. A lot of you already know what this is, what the backdrop of this is. So there's a few things. We'll just go through it. Here we go. Line item 10. Well known throughout the WWE that Phillips had sexual fetishes for young boys, namely and only partially because Phillips didn't try to hide this recruiting and cavorting with underage boys, including exhibiting his foot fetish for young boys in front of WWE personnel. All right, so that is that. So let me do this real quick. I'm going to go ahead and download, and I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to bring it up in a better there we go. So, because on my phone, I know I can PDF this thing, but let me full page this thing. Boom, boom, and I'm trying to do full screen, but it's giving me like a really small deal. All right, let me exit out this full screen. Boom. Trying to do a full screen up in this joker. And all right, so I think that's the best we can get, because when I do full screen, it just gives me, okay, there we go. I think we got something going on here. All right, here we go. All right, so let's go. Let's go. All right, here we go. I don't know why it's doing that Google Docs crap. Oh, okay, got you. Oh, okay. Let me see. Let's do this. Let's bring another. Let's do this. Let's do boom. Let's do boom. Let's do boom. And let's do boom. There we go. All right. All right. All right. There we go. Okay, so this action is brought by survivors of sexual abuse. Facebook friends of Total Cody. You're new. Is brought by survivors of sexual abuse committed by Phillips, who groomed, exploited, and sexually abused underage ring boys. While 5 of these survivors have initially come forward, there are undoubtedly countless others who will still suffer in silence. Let me make my gimmick bigger. Boom, 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 and boom. All right, here we go. Boom. All right. Tip of the iceberg. All right, we talked about Phil Mushnick. Lots of stuff going on with Mushnick that we saw already. And more Mushnick stuff. In addition to the fellow, it was common knowledge in the WWE among the ring crew. Here we go. It was common knowledge in the WWE among the ring crew, wrestlers, and executives that Phillips surrounded himself with a posse of underage ring boys, including when he traveled to across state lines and stayed at hotels with the children. Of course, that's a lot of stuff that we already know. Sexual fetishes with young boys, namely, and only partially because Phillips didn't try to hide his recruiting and cavorting with underage boys, exhibiting his foot fetish and for young boys in front of WWE personnel. It was there for the WWE and its leaders to see in plain sight, yet no one did anything to stop Phillips' rampant and open abuse of young boys. The widespread knowledge of the abuse was confirmed by former high-level executive. This is what the former high-level executive said. The boys that the company hired to put up the ring and so forth were being abused by some of the folks who were in the wrestling operation side of things. And this was just generally known by everybody that was going on. It was a mess, an absolute mess. The McMahons clearly knew what was going on, but really did nothing to stop it. It was not a D thing we could do about it. Now, that's interesting because Tony Atlas talked about this in a little slightly in a way. Talked about this on the documentary, and he was talking about how, like, within the WWE, there was a lot of this going on, and basically because it wasn't guaranteed contracts at the time. So basically what happened at the time was you would not want to lose your spot. So as a result of not wanting to lose your spot, what you would do was you would just kind of keep a lot of things on the hush. You would keep a lot of things on a hush, and you would know things are going on. You would say, that's not my business. I'm turning a blind eye to it, because if you tell, then it's going to get to Vince. And if you get to Vince, then you're compromising a potential way of potential firing. And so, especially someone like a Pat Patterson. Pat Patterson had a pretty prominent position at that time too. So you got to understand this situation was more than just trying to keep it on the hush. Like, it's not about maliciously trying to keep it on the hush, but it's about it as a wrestler. And from a wrestler's perspective, you're weighing your options. You're weighing your options, and you're thinking, okay, well, this may compromise my job. This definitely isn't a good thing. This definitely isn't. I mean, it's a horrible it's a horrible position to be in. But at the same time, people are like, okay, so either I'm going to take the moral high ground and I see this and I'm going to let Vince know about it, or and if I did have the moral high ground, that might risk my job, or I'm going to say nothing and keep my job. It was a really difficult position that a lot of those wrestlers was in that Tony Atlas was talking about. He didn't mention Mark Henry. So Linda McMahon's mentioned as well, as you see there, collectively as the McMahons knew at least as early to mid 1980s that Phillips had, as Vince stated, a peculiar and unnatural interest in young boys. So these allegations are saying that Vince and Linda knew, and the admission of knowledge, the defendant's admission of knowledge predated Phillips' abuse of the plaintiffs in this case. So that is one of the biggest things that's this is dealing with, as far as they already knew. 914 is something that really it really hit me first. That was, I mean, this whole thing hit me, but that was the thing that stood out, because I knew a lot of the things before the first 13 lines, but this line 14, it stood out to me. In 1988, the McMahons fired Phillips after even more allegations were made about Phillips sexually abusing children. But inexplicably, 6 weeks later, the McMahons rehired Phillips and he went back to recruiting young boys to sexually exploit them. Yikes. Let me read that again. In 1988, the McMahons fired, let me bring this up a little bit so you all can see it. In 1988, the McMahons fired Phillips after even more allegations were made about Phillips sexually abusing children, but inexplicably, 6 weeks later, the McMahons rehired Phillips and he went back to recruiting young boys to sexually exploit them. The McMahons rehired Phillips on the condition that he, quote, steer clear from kids. He did not, and they knew it. But perhaps even more troubling, the McMahons concealed the reason for Phillips' absence and his firing. By rehiring him, defendants allowed Phillips to continue abusing innocent kids. Yikes. So 14 really stood out to me. It was really, really unfortunate what they're writing in this filing here. All right, so we talked about the Mushnick thing has been a big thing when it comes to the documentary. More Mushnick stuff. I don't really. Yeah, that's the Mushnick stuff. That's actually Alex Marvez from back in the day. So FBI Behavioral Science Unit reported that Phillips' sexual abuse was widespread, confirming at the time 10 victims of Mel Phillips. The FBI also noted that Phillips's sexual abuse and foot fetish with underage boys was consistent with other pedophiles. Yikes. So this is more information. Most problematic is the fact that no alleged victims are willing to admit or describe the sexual nature of their activity with Phillips. Now, unfortunately, that's very known. That's very prominent. I mean, there's so many things, and of course, I'm just bringing this in from my current knowledge within psychology and criminology. Just a little elevator pitch of what I do know. I don't know everything, but I know some things, but not everything. Just an elevator pitch. I'm a doctor in forensic psychology. I have a master's degree in criminal justice behavioral sciences. I have a master's degree in psychology as well, and a master's degree in theological studies. So I can tell you the psychological and criminological piece of this when it comes to the reason, like just different facets of this particular case. So oftentimes, and this is very unfortunate, this happens a lot though when it comes to sexually abused victims. A lot of times they do put it on the hush. They hush. They don't say anything because think about it. If the ring boys are 15, 18, and then they were underage, so they were under 18, say 12, for instance, or 16, 15, if their friends find out that they were sexually abused, a lot of times in those particular cases, people are afraid because they run the risk in their minds. And a lot of times I provide therapy to let people know and help people understand that you are not the perpetrator here. You are 100% the victim, and you don't have to protect anybody else, first of all. And then secondly, you don't have to spend the time trying to hide it. This isn't something that you should be protecting whatsoever from the perpetrator. But unfortunately, a lot of times people, they feel like in their head, okay, this is going to mess up my status. People are going to look at me different. I might be married, when it comes to more adult stuff, or I don't want to tell my parents because my parents are going to kill this dude, and I don't want to lose my parents if my parents kill this dude, because basically it's a lose-lose for me, because if I tell my parents are going to kill the dude, and then my parents are going to be in jail for the rest of my life, and now I'm only going to look at them through a pane glass, a pane window. So it's a lose-lose in a lot of these kids' life, because I totally understand why the type of anger and rage that will come from their child getting sexually assaulted. And then what happens is the parents, okay, I've had enough. I'm gonna do something about this. And even if it's a full-on assault, I mean, that's something I would be tempted to do. Like, look, who is it? This person is. I'm going to knock you out cold, and you won't even be conscious for the next year. That would be the temptation I would do. Not saying I would do it, but I would be tempted to do it. I would figure, yeah. I mean, I would be blood boiling enraged if I find this out of someone sexually abusing one of my. Are you kidding? And so what's going to happen in their minds is just like, man, I'm not going to tell my parents because I don't want to lose my parents. I don't care about losing the abuser, but I don't want to lose my parents. And a lot of times they deal with that stuff, man. A lot of people with sexual abuse, they deal with that type of stuff. So they're so afraid to say it, man. It's so sad. It's such an unfortunate conundrum when people are dealing with being victims of sexual abuse. You're dealing with guilt. You're dealing with shame, lots of shame, tons of shame. I'm so ashamed that I was that I fell prey to that I don't even want to tell anybody because I'm just overwhelmed with shame. A lot of times people feel guilty, man. Why did I put myself in that? Why did I even agree to go in that situation? Why did I even agree to go in the room with the person? And in essence, you're being groomed. It's called grooming. And so all those things, unfortunately, falls on the conscience of the abused. And it's very, very, very sad. It's very sad. All right, so let's go into more defenses have specific knowledge. So 16, here we go. But the McMahons knew it was no joke and that it was not being blown out of proportion because at least one 16-year-old boy had already complained to them. Below is a photo of that young boy standing ringside in front of the railing and even touching the ring. So here's the unfortunate part. So of course, for those who know, old school wrestling fans, they know that's the Machines. That's when that was when Andre basically was suspended, but he came back and he had a mask on, pretend he was from Japan. And so this was the ring boy right there, as you see here, and then that's a close-up to the ring boy. All right. Here's the unfortunate part about this ring boy. This boy was 16. All right. So Mel Phillips was in charge of, he was an announcer, and he ended up in charge of the ring crew. So this ring boy, we'll see what happened here, unfortunately. Line 22. WWE reached a financial settlement with the young boy pictured above, but it set off a series of events between him and the WWE that eventually led to his death by suicide in 2021, when he could no longer deal with the damage done to him by the McMahons, the WWE, Phillips, and others. That's about 30 years later. That's 30 years he was dealing with that. 30 years plus that he was dealing with that. And unfortunately, he decided to take his own life because dealing with that. I mean, that's 30 plus years of trauma dealing with that. It's so sad, man. That's what trauma can do to someone from a psychological standpoint. It can eat you daily. It's cancerous, man. It's so sad. And someone just can't deal with the trauma anymore, holding it back, not getting not feeling like you got your just due. You've been dealing with 30 years. You only get a fraction of what you think you're owed. There's nothing you can tell, like Patterson, for instance, because he's no longer with us, Mel Phillips as well. And so, yeah, man, it's really, really sad to see this. So here we go. Let's defendants allow Phillips and others to engage in and foster the WWE's rampant culture of sexual abuse. The perverse culture goes back to the organization's early days and has continued to in recent times, as exemplified in the recently unearthed series of alleged sexual misconduct committed by Vince McMahon himself, the longtime kingpin and domineering influence in WWE. Of course, I'm reading all this based on the filing. And it talks about Janelle Grant. Again, talks about the statement of facts. They knew, the WWE and McMahons knew about Phillips' sexual abuse of ring boys, but did not take any measures to prevent it or protect the young boys. Instead, for years, they knowingly allowed Phillips to use the allure and stature of being associated with the WWE to lure, recruit, groom, and sexually abuse numerous underage boys. Very, very unfortunate, man. Very, very unfortunate with this. More about the more about them knowing. So I was on page 18, I believe, before. Yeah, I talked about the San Martino thing on my Twitter, on my X at Chris Prolific. I actually put down, attached it with a clip of Bruno when he was on Larry King Live. So be sure to catch that right there at Chris Prolific. Check that out. I'll put the actual clip of Bruno saying that from Larry King Live. All right, so I think that's for now. I think we'll talk about the rest on the Patreon. More about Mushnick on the lines 45, the interview. Pritchard is mentioned on line 47. More Mushnick stuff. I mean, yeah, lots of Mushnick references here when it comes to the suit. Below are 3 photos of Phillips visiting a neighborhood filled with children using WWE props and gear to lure children to him. In the first photo, Phillips' arms and a portion of his legs can be seen in the bottom left, surrounded by children, including one former ring boy who is now deceased, holding the Iron Sheik's famous Persian clubs. In the second photo, another ring boy is shown holding a WWE championship belt in Phillips's car at a gas station while on a road trip with Phillips. Phillips would keep the WWE props and paraphernalia in the back of his car. In the third photo, two of the underage boys posed with the same belt, simulating a wrestling move where one boy was, quote, smashing the other over the head with the belt. So there you go. Mel Phillips is there. The car. There's the Persian clubs. And there's the other boys. There's luring them. Iron Sheik stuff. There's the belt right there with one of the boys. Kudos to the law offices by blackening the people's faces. Great job. More of the boys there being lured. More Mushnick stuff. So we're about a quarter in now. So more stuff, more Mushnick stuff. More of the docuseries stuff, more of the Mushnick Business Insider, more Mushnick stuff. Line 56 says Business Insider reported Vince McMahon's acknowledgement described by Mushnick that he and Linda McMahon fired, then rehired Phillips in 1998. So this was supported by video evidence. Phillips disappeared from his post on the syndicated Wrestling Challenge TV show after a March 1998 taping, but reemerged for a live broadcast merely 6 weeks later. We talked about that before. Down to line 59, nothing big, nothing majorly new. Jake Roberts is mentioned in line 60. In addition to the highest level executive, multiple wrestlers knew about Mel Phillips' abuse of the Ring Boys. So Jake Roberts' name is mentioned, a former professional wrestler with WWE from 1986 through 1992, and again from 1996 to 1997, said during an interview regarding the Ring Boy scandal that, quote, it was all true, particularly involving Phillips and Terry Garvin. He specified that he knew it was going on and it made him, quote, sick. He said, quote, the story goes that Gorilla Monsoon caught Phillips putting his figure four on some kid and sucking his toes. Pretty disgusting. Sid Vicious or Sid Justice, Sid Udy, former pro wrestler. Of course, he unfortunately passed away recently. Who was with the WWE from 1991 to 1992, described an instance where there was a group of young boys outside the hotel. He said he asked the Warlord, another former wrestler from WWE from 1998 to 1992, what they were doing there. And the Warlord said that the ring announcer, Mel Phillips, was getting the kids tickets to the show tonight. And before the show, he takes them to the hotel room and plays with their feet. My stomach is curling even reading this. Sid added, I can tell you a million stories like that. Whew. Greg the Helmer Valentine's, another wrestler mentioned in this filing here, gave his credentials, said he heard about Mel Phillips sucking on toes and that he heard a lot of strange things happen with the Ring Boys before it became public in 1992. Quote, no one cared. You know, I mean, if he wants to suck toes, let him. Eek. But he did hear that Phillips got some younger kids involved, and so there's definitely a big problem with that. All right, so Greg Valentine's state was, hey, if he wants to suck toes, let him suck toes. But when there's kids involved, okay, we got an issue. Okay, I can understand that. I mean, it's a weird fetish that people want to suck this random young boy's toes. Odd, but understandably so. Hope he was trying to cover his behind here. Yes, there's definitely a big problem with sucking little boys' toes. Sabu's next. He was mentioned, gave his credentials. He said that WWE at the time would hire ring crew guys under 18, and Mel Phillips was a pervert. Phillips had kids in every town. That's why he was, quote, so notorious, and Phillips, quote, was a foot guy, that he would use boys' feet for sexual pleasure. He didn't deny it. He just faded away. Shane Douglas was also mentioned here, gave his credentials. He remembers on a flight from California to Honolulu, he saw a couple younger kids join Mel on the plane. Then, during the flight, when most people were asleep, he walked past Mel's seat and saw Mel stare at him with the blanket pulled up to his chin, and saw the blanket moving up and near down his crotch. My stomach is curling as I'm reading this, which appeared to be Mel engaging in a sexual act under a blanket with one of the younger boys on the plane. Eek! Honky Tonk Man was mentioned. Talked a lot of the abuse going on with the Ring Boys. Eek, line E. I'm still eeking from that. My stomach. Eek. That was gross. Brickhouse Brown informed former pro wrestler Rob Van Dam, who was with WWE from approximately 2001 to 2007. He was there later than that too. And other wrestlers about Phillips molesting the Ring Boys, other sexual harassment by WWE executives Patterson and Garvin. Gorilla Monsoon is next. He said this during the taping. As Mel Phillips would say, that match would knock your socks off. Goodness. Oh, wow. I'm going to have to look at that. Oof. I'm going to have to look at that. I'm going to have to find a video of that. If someone finds a video, tag me at Chris Prolific on Twitter, on X. If you find a video of Gorilla Monsoon saying that, yikes. As Mel Phillips would say, that match would knock your socks off. How ironic to his, it's not ironic, it's a pun to his nasty foot fetish. Tito Santana, former professional wrestler, credentials again, wrote about Phillips in his book, Don't Call Me Chico, describing Phillips as in charge of the ring crew and seeing him, quote, with this collection of local ring boys. Phillips brought the show to the show to help set up chairs and the whole deal. Wherever the WWF went, Mel Phillips added to his list of teen helpers from broken homes and troubled backgrounds. That's what he said. So he was basically preying on vulnerable boys from broken homes and troubled backgrounds. Yikes. Preying on little boys, teen boys from broken homes and troubled backgrounds. We'll go through a few more of wrestlers that were mentioned. I'll hit a few of these questions, and then we'll do the rest on the Patreon. Bret Hart gave an interview. So yeah, I saw the Bret Hart interview. He said Mel Phillips was a total pedophile that preyed on young boys, and if these young boys weren't complying with his requests for sexual favors, they weren't hired. So he also said this in his autobiography that both Garvin and Phillips, as well as Pat Patterson, resigned as a result, quote, as a result of the allegations of sexual misconduct. Hart detailed an incident involving Phillips engaging in unwanted conduct that then became known to Vince McMahon, Pat Patterson, and other wrestlers. So this is what he said, this is what Hart said, I believe. Vince arrived with Pat, Howard, Finkel, Terry Funk, and a black ring announcer named Mel Phillips. Mel was something of a whipping boy for all of them. And before long, Vince and Pat were doing everything they could to get Stu to stretch him for the in the dungeon. So Vince and Pat was trying to stretch him. from Stu. Stu thought they only wanted to make fun of Mel, and at first he wouldn't go for it. A couple months later, on a bus ride somewhere in Europe, Mike Tomei, a rookie referee, made the mistake of confiding to Jacques Rougeau. I might talk to Jacques. I'm friends with Jacques. That one night when he shared a room with Mel Phillips, and he was awakened by Mel straddling him buck naked at the foot of his bed and sucking hard on his big toe. Let me see what Jacques is doing. I might bring him on the Patreon if he's still up to address this. Yeah. All right. I just texted Jock, see if he was still up. All right, let me see. All right. Told everybody on the bus. Of course, none of us could stop laughing either. When we got back to the States, I had little choice but to immortalize the incidents on the blackboard, adding Mel to the long-standing, ever-changing orgy with Princess Toma and Chief. Mic in hand and still wearing his announcing tuxedo. Mel Phillips hung by his lips from Shep's big toe. This was a big hit with the boys, so I drew it everywhere for a while. After an hour of prodding from Vince and Pat, Stu was finally persuaded to get his hooks on Mel. From the kitchen, we could hear sharp screams followed by giddy laughter and grunting coming from downstairs. I hurried down to find Mel stripped down to his undershirt, slacks, and socks, and inquired whether he wanted Stu to show him how to put on a flying toe hold. Neither Vince nor Pat wanted to get too close. Stu stretching either one of them would have been a beautiful thing to watch, and they knew it. Stu let Mel off easily, though, climbing off him like a forgiving spider. It turned out to be a wonderful evening for everyone, except maybe for Pat Phillips. So Mushnick stated this. WWE executive, particularly Terry Garvin and Pat Patterson, also knew or should have known about Phillips' misconduct. We a lot of people know that already. So that was about the best-selling book. Nelson Swegler, who was WWE's company operations manager. So the book is called Sex, Lies, and Headlocks, The Real Story of Vince McMahon and the World Wrestling Entertainment. Nelson Swegler, who was WWE's company operations manager, remembers walking into a bus and seeing Garvin, quote, hard at it with one of the ring boys. These were kids that were usually from broken homes whose parents would only be too glad to send them off to do a day's work. Everybody knew what was going on, continued Swegler, but it would have taken someone within the brotherhood to have moved on it, and none of the people knew about it. None of the people who knew about it moved on it. So we talked about that already, and we'll park there and take the rest to the Patreon. Jacques hasn't got back. He may get back with me before we go to the Patreon. But let me do a few of these questions real quick. I know that y'all like this, so we're gonna do this real quick. It is time for the question kit. All right, real quick. I'm gonna zoom by a few of these, and I'm gonna take the rest of it to the Patreon. Bubba Ray Dudley will be wrestling next week on NXT. I heard Nunzio Francine and Don Marie are back next week too. Good for them. People's Wrestling Channel. Do I know if there's any? I think what? Yeah, if there's a breaking news studio app, I could put myself in as if I was the news reader. Now I don't know about that. Michael Pestilano got back from Vegas seeing my Raiders play the Chiefs at Allegiant Stadium. Lots of promotion for WrestleMania. Good. Glad you had a good time, man. Hopefully you had a good time. Our game was close on Saturday. Oh, Lord. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. Good gravy. That was horrible. The ID program, yes. Good for them. I like it. I know I saw that Rikishi's Knox Pro was involved in it, and then a couple other indie promotions. People's Wrestling Channel, a Facebook friend who was a total Cody Mark quoted your tweet about Cody to me as if they broke the story. Is acceptable. They showed you no support, which annoys me, by the way. That is very annoying. That is not break. That is a very that is a huge mark in ethical journalism. So if this person let me know who this person is. I would blast this person. It's absolute. It's unethical. It's plagiarism. You're not sourcing. It's absolutely horrible ethical when it comes to journalism. So I hope if that person even thinks about getting a journalism degree or a job or reporter job or whatever, that's no, because I've time-stamped my Cody break. That is real journalists. They don't have to worry about taking the story from someone else who spent the work and finding the story. They'll work on getting their own story. So very, very poor ethics when it comes to that. If they're going to quote you, they should at least show support. Yep. You are the new him who don't miss. I don't miss, y'all. My sources are legit. Was Pat Patterson involved in a ringboard scandal? I was there, so I don't know. But it says in the filings that he knew of it at least. So, yes, kudos to my guy, good friend of mine, Rico Constantino. McMahon has created another wrestling company. Is creating, I would say, he's in the works of it. So that would be interesting. That's something that's not a surprise whatsoever. I believe it's an entertainment company that he's working on. So we shall see. Can I lift the Persian clubs? Give them to me. Let's do it. My guy Ben is asking. I believe he's saying, I believe every single word of this. People are sick. People are sick, very much so. Ben also said, I literally watched the documentary of the Boy Scouts of America doing the same thing, young boys. Yeah, I heard about that too. That was so sad, man. Very, very unfortunate with that absolute mess. Come on, y'all. We need Jesus. Everybody needs Jesus. Because if you ain't got Jesus, you are a sick individual. You're a sick individual without Jesus, and you need Jesus every day to prevent you from being even more of a sick individual. Get some redemption, man. Be led by the Holy Spirit, man. I'm preaching tonight. It's my show. I get to preach whenever I want to. There's some sick people out here playing with little boys. You nasties. All right, let's go to the Patreon. Let's finish this off with more talk about this. We're going to talk about Crown Jewel predictions on the patreon.com/pancakes and powerslams. We have a really good time every single week, so be sure to go there. Put this right there. Drop it right there. All right, y'all. This sucks, man. Sucks hearing this stuff. It's 82 pages. We've only scratched the surface. I'm on page 27 of 82. So there's a lot more to unpack. We'll be unpacking it here. So be sure to join me. And let me see if Jacques is still up. We'll find out and see if he wants to join. All right, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I am Dr. Chris. This is episode 656 of the Pancakes and Powerslams Show. Be sure, listen, man. If I got newbies, thank you so much. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, y'all. Be sure to comment. Come on. Don't be selfish. boost up, show your love for Pancakes and Powerslams Show by hitting that like button. Liking is free. Hitting the like button, it literally costs nothing. It's literally free. Commenting on the show after the show, commenting on the show is literally free. Sharing the video is literally free. All those things cost nothing. So I really would appreciate you showing your support of the Pancakes and Powerslams Show by doing those three things: liking, sharing, commenting, and you know what else is free? Subscribing. I just gave you 4 things that I would love you to do. The cost for you, 0. Free. So thank you so much for showing your support of the Pancakes and Powerslams Show of 656 episodes. We're heading to the Patreon. We're going to finish talking about this, a chunk of this. And until then, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy Wicked Wrestling. God bless. And always remember, I do it for you. Have a good night, everybody. So long.